I'll call this meeting to order at 6 o'clock. It's the City of Tarpon Springs Heritage Preservation Board. It's March 4th, 6:30 p.m., and we're at City Hall, 324 East Pine Street. Can we have roll call, please?
Ms. Dinoff?
Yes.
Mr. Mrzinski provided prior notice that he would not be here. Mr. Sprecher?
Here.
Ms. Ryan did not provide prior notice. Ms. Hallett did not provide prior notice. Ms. Kaplan? Here.
Okay.
Thank you. So if everybody had a chance to go through the meetings, going to get a minutes of the last meeting on February, when was the last meeting? February 5th. I'd like to get a motion to approve it, and then second.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting as written.
Okay.
Minutes, rather.
I'll second.
Okay, we have no choice.
It is open.
Okay. So
And Madam Chair, we did skip over public comments, and this would be public comments for anything not on the agenda.
does that come after the minutes? Because I have it on here after the minutes.
Oh, I have it on the agenda as after roll call. I'm sorry.
Oh, really? Okay.
On this,
Well,
on this agenda.
Whatever you think is best. We'll do it that way.
That's fine. I didn't call her for the
So are there
minutes.
any public comments that aren't related?
Hold on, did you guys take your final vote for the minutes?
Yes.
You got a
No, we
second?
didn't.
Okay, so go ahead and call
For
the
the
question.
minutes? Oh, our final vote for the
Vote.
minutes.
Yeah. Can we have,
Ms. Kaplan?
yes.
Mr. Sprecher?
Yes.
Ms. Dinoff?
Yes, sorry about that. So this meeting is quasi judicial, at least the one that we're looking at. Do we need to read that again, Ms. Kardash?
Yes, I'll go ahead and read it into the record for this
Okay.
meeting. The matters before the City of Tarpon Springs Heritage Preservation Board are quasi-judicial in nature. In a quasi-judicial proceeding, the board's function is to make findings of fact based upon the evidence presented at the hearing and apply those findings of fact to previously established criteria contained in the City of Tarpon Springs Code of Ordinances. This is a legal decision regarding the application before the board. The board may only consider evidence that the law considers competent, substantial, and relevant to the issues arising from the application and the applicable code sections. If the evidence demonstrates that the application meets the criteria contained in the Code of Ordinances, then the board is required by law to grant the applicant's request. If the evidence demonstrates that the application does not meet the code criteria, then the board is required to deny the applicant's request. Any and all persons providing testimony at this hearing are required to do so under oath. All persons testifying at this hearing must give their name, address, and must indicate whether or not they have been sworn for the record prior to proceeding with their testimony. All testimony and questioning at this hearing must address matters that are relevant and material to the application pending before the city's Heritage Preservation Board. Any board members who have disclosures such as ex parte communications or conflicts of interest, please make your disclosures at the beginning of the hearing. At this time, I'll go ahead and swear in everybody who's going to be speaking for the quasi-judicial matter. Please stand and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth on all matters before the City of Tarpon Springs Heritage Preservation Board here this evening? Yes. Okay. When you come up to speak, please make sure that you state your name, address, and indicate for the record that you've been sworn. Thank you.
So I want to talk about application 23-153. It's been continued to April 1st. Do we need to agree upon that through a motion? Because we just moved it to today.
Carolyn, has that one been re-advertised or not? The ones that, so you had the two that are marked on the agenda as continued. Were they advertised for the first or were they advertised for today?
They were advertised, so application 23-153 was advertised for March, but we continued that to a date certain, and I believe we can continue to a date certain one more time without re-advertising.
yes.
Without,
Yes,
okay.
so, and she has the date and the time in there. If we can do that by motion, please.
Okay. I make a motion to approve delay for that one.
The motion, you have to specifically state, the motion is to continue to April 1st, 2024 at 6:30 PM.
Okay, I don't have that. Okay, there we go. Okay, make a motion to continue to April 21, application 23.
April 1st,
April 1st.
That's April 21?
April 1st, 2024.
Okay. For application 23, 153.
Yeah. We need a second
Second?
Second.
vote?
Vote.
Ms. Kaplan?
Yes.
Mr. Sprecher?
Yes.
Ms. Denoff?
Yes. So the next application that we want to talk about is 23-159, 154 Reed Street.
Okay, and before we enter into the testimony and evidence, this one we had started to receive evidence on at the last hearing. Now, Ms. Denoff, I know that you were here. And Ms. Kaplan, were you at the last meeting as well? So you were here as well. Mr. Sprecher, you were not. Did you have a chance to watch the video from the last meeting?
No, I did not.
Did you have a chance to review the minutes from the last meeting?
Did not.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and enter all the evidence from the beginning then, if we can.
Okay.
Oh, hold it. Excuse me one second. I have read her, the staff report thoroughly, so,
Okay.
okay.
Okay, so, application 23-159, this is showing the location of the parcel at 154 Reed Street. This slide shows the location of the subject parcel within the National Register and local historic districts. This slide shows the, picture from the Florida Master Site File. And the applicant is seeking a certificate of approval to renovate this contributing structure through replacing windows, doors, and the roof, installing pavers or brick tile over the existing concrete porch steps, installing new vinyl soffit on gable eaves to match the rake eaves, and replacing existing fascia board with wood grain composite, and adding new aluminum posts and a larger fascia to the existing carport. The architectural style is frame vernacular, and the Florida Master Site File states that this property was constructed circa 1926. Here is a slide showing the facade as of a couple weeks ago. This is showing the side door and windows proposed for replacement and the carport area. This is attempting to show some of the windows on the west side for replacement. You're trying to get that side in there again. It's kind of hard to see from the street. This slide is showing the survey for the subject property. Just a little zoom in there so you can see that a little bit better. And then these are the plans. Noting the locations where the windows and doors would be replaced. And this is just a blow up of the notes on the plans so that you can see the work that's being proposed. So as part of this application, the applicant is proposing to leave the chimney alone and reflash around it when they redo the roof. The applicant has noted that the original wood windows have deteriorated and require replacement. 7 of the 19 windows on the structure are not original. And these are the applicable standards of review: new construction consistency, windows, doors, and entries, neighborhood and district context, roof shape and texture, adherence with the Secretary's guidelines and conformance with other city code requirements. So with respect to new construction consistency, the project would not alter the height or width of the contributing structure. With respect to the windows, doors, and entries, the applicant is proposing to replace windows and doors utilizing the existing historic dimensions. So maintaining those original dimensions of windows and doors is consistent and with the building's original architectural style, and the replacement doors and windows are generally visually consistent with the architectural style of the structure. With respect to the neighborhood and district context, the proposed project would slightly alter the streetscape and vista by changing the appearance of the facade. The new windows and doors would alter the appearance, as well as the proposed pavers on the steps and the porch. The HPB should determine whether or not these alterations are minor or significantly adverse. With respect to the roof shape and texture, the applicant is proposing to replace the existing shingles with a shake-style shingle that would be consistent with the original architectural style. Again, they are not demolishing the chimney; they're just reflashing around it, and this proposal is consistent with the design review guideline manuals because it would not adversely alter the shape, texture, or type of the roof. So some of the relevant information from the guidelines manual, guideline 59 on retaining historic doors. It's pretty simple. It says that we should maintain and repair historic doors. And with respect to historic windows, again, we also always want to try and maintain the original materials and historic materials. However, the guideline manual does note that if 50% or more of the windows are deteriorated or missing, then wholesale replacement of windows is permitted. As I stated, the structure has 19 windows, and 7 of which are not original, and the applicant is indicating that the remaining original wood windows are deteriorated to the point where they need to be replaced, which appears to meet this 50% threshold. However, the applicant is proposing vinyl windows, and the design guideline review manual notes that vinyl or vinyl-clad windows are acceptable replacements only on mid-20th century properties or on non-visible elevations. We have the maintenance of the existing dimensions, which is in conformance with our guidelines. The utilization of vinyl may not entirely jive with our design review guideline manual, so it's up to the HPB to determine whether or not the replacement windows substantially conform with our criteria and guidelines. So staff is recommending approval of the project, and if the HPB approves this application, we would just note that we need to condition that with the certificate of approval expiring in 3 years if a building permit is not issued. And with that, I can take any questions.
Any questions? No? I don't have any questions either. Does the applicant want to speak?
Are you entering your file on this as evidence for the board's consideration this evening?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Do you want to speak, ma'am?
The client says no.
Okay.
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 Thank you.
So we need a motion.
So you open it up to see if there's any comments from the public.
Public comments on this topic? None?
Okay.
On the phone at all? Probably not.
Nope. And now you close the public hearing for board consideration and deliberation if you have no additional questions for staff or the applicant.
Okay,
Okay,
so we have to have a motion first before we discuss it?
that's correct. Yeah, I make a motion that, application 23-159 be accepted as stated and approved. Okay, this is for 154, Reed Street.
Okay, need a second?
Okay.
Is there any discussion?
Not really.
Yeah.
It's,
Seems
the
clean.
one, contention that staff has is with the vinyl. But
I don't know if we can,
it's, from a distance, you never notice.
yeah, and they have to be hurricane safe, so they're gonna replace an old window and get that, so.
Okay,
Vote.
yeah, that's all I got.
Kim?
Ms. Kaplan?
Yes.
Mr. Sprecher?
Yes.
Ms. Denoff?
Yes.
Okay. It's approved.
Yes, it's approved.
Okay.
And I was just looking at the third one. So the next, application is 126. Is that 24-09 is the number of that application? For 127 North Gross Avenue?
Yes, this application was entered and was originally advertised for today's meeting. But taking a look at some of the plans, it's actually a Habitat for Humanity home. Met with the project manager, and they've decided they're gonna make some alterations to make it fit into the neighborhood a little bit better, and we should have that next meeting.
So we don't have to do a motion on this one?
On this one, because it was advertised for this evening, yes, you need a motion to continue it to April 1st, 2024 at 6:30 PM.
Okay, so we do, on all of them, usually we do then, right? So we usually have to then have a
If it's
motion.
if it's advertised, then yes, you do have to do the motion.
Okay. Number 3.
Okay. Okay, I'll make a motion that we, for application 2409, for 127 North Grove Street, be postponed until, April 1st
At 6:30 PM.
at 6:30 PM.
Yes, I second the motion. I second it. Ms.
Okay.
Kaplan? Yes. Mr. Sprecher?
Yes.
Ms. Denoff?
Yes. Okay. So the next topic is the adaptation and resiliency plan for the historic district and Greektown. You have a presentation, I assume.
Yes, good evening, Pat McNeese, Planning Supervisor. So, as you may recall, we were here in December at your meeting and presented this draft plan for adaptation and resiliency of the historic district in Greektown. Sent you we posted it on the website, the draft, and the Connect Tarpon Springs page that we have for this project. So hopefully you got a chance to look at that. I do have some of the hard copies if you want to take a look. But this evening, we were looking for hopefully your support in moving this forward to the Board of Commissioners for them to accept this study. So I don't know that we, unless the attorney says otherwise, we could either do by consensus or vote. It's either one's fine with staff.
From a legal perspective, it should be by a vote to recommend it.
And we're recommending, if we vote yes, to go forward with the recommendations for the Greektown Historic District, making it a historic district, is that it?
No, so this was a study for, if you recall, this was basically a study and an analysis of the flood risk mainly, and also high winds for the Greektown National District that is in the National Register now, and for our local and national historic district that you all have designated here in Tarpon Springs. So it included an assessment of all those historical resources, characterization of the hazards, that was mainly high wind and flooding from hurricanes and heavy rainfall. We did an asset risk exposure analysis by structure type, by geographic area, those types of things. A description of the framework, the regulatory framework, the agencies, all that is in the study. We did a full community engagement, well attended. I'm not sure if Ms. Kaplan was here, but Mr. Sprecher may remember we had a goals workshop here where we broke up into groups. That was kind of the final step in that community engagement, so we did all that. There is a section of goals, objectives, and policies, and if the board does accept this study, we do have in a draft comprehensive plan that this would be a reference document to that plan. And then there's a section on adaptation and resiliency tools and ways you can adapt your structure that we put in there. And then there's some appendices with some hurricane history, maps, a spreadsheet of all the resources, so that's quite a big section, and the public survey details, results. So that's what is in the study, and we would ask that you accept the study and recommend that the Board of Commissioners accept the study.
Okay, I didn't see that study, that 300-page one.
Okay, this
But
one,
I mean, I pretty much agree with what you're presenting, but
Okay.
I really didn't get a chance to read that.
okay.
And I don't want to delay it.
I mean,
No.
we could, if you need another month. I'm not sure who was here at the,
Copies of
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, did you say you had copies of the study here?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I'd like to have one.
Okay, this is the draft, so it won't be the final version, obviously.
Yeah,
There will be any tweaks. If you all don't have comments, the board may have
Okay.
comments. I'll go ahead and hand those out when we're finished. I mean, you know, if you feel strongly that we need to delay this another month, we can do that.
Well, I'm comfortable with your recommending it, and I know that I've sat through Tina's presentations. You know, so I've sat through all the presentations, I just didn't see that study until tonight.
Okay, and
Yeah.
I'm not sure, was anyone here in December? Maybe you weren't, when I gave the whole slideshow about
I
it?
was here.
Oh,
Yeah, I
okay,
was here for that.
okay, okay.
Is there public comment?
Not yet, she hasn't. Let's wait until you
Yeah,
call for
you,
public.
you can open this for public comment before you vote.
Oh, well, should we open it now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, are there any public comments?
Tina Bukavalis, 115 Athens Street. And I actually did read almost the entire thing today, and I thought it was absolutely excellent. Very comprehensive and wonderful suggestions for the future. So anyway, they did a great job.
Thank you. Well, then we'll take a motion now. Motion to approve.
Okay, let me make the motion. I make a motion that we postpone it for a month.
Oh, you want to push it off for a
Oh,
month?
no, to accept it as is?
I don't want to delay
Okay.
it because I have sat through the presentations, but probably the technical details. I think we should just go ahead and approve it,
Okay,
and I'll read that.
okay. Okay, I make a motion to approve as written. Okay,
Okay,
this is the draft report for the hurricane study. And second,
second.
now we can talk. I want to tell you, Pat, I didn't go through the whole thing, but I did a lot of the reading this afternoon. It is good.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you,
I was impressed, I really was.
thank you.
You called me off guard when I was on the internet. I found this, and oh shit. You know?
Okay.
But, no, it was well written.
Good.
I think we can accept it.
Okay, all right.
Good.
Sorry,
Ms.
I
Kaplan?
didn't see that, and that
Yes.
scared me, but I'm okay with it.
Oh, I didn't catch it till today.
Yeah. Do we have a second?
Yes, I second.
Okay.
Okay,
Ms. Kaplan?
Yes.
Mr. Sparker?
yes.
Ms. Denoff?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, good. See if there's any comments. Any comments? Staff comments or board comments?
No,
I
we have
thought we
one more,
already did
yeah,
that.
one more presentation.
We already did that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's how I was adjourned.
Okay, Board, it is my distinct pleasure to present to you the findings of our Union Academy and Crosstown Cultural Resources Survey. This is just a finding of the survey. It has been taken to the Board of Commissioners already. We needed to do that just because of the grant reporting requirements. We needed to move it along a little further. But as you see, there's no real hard and fast recommendations, and any further action on this study would be brought to you before moving forward with it. So we conducted a cultural resources survey for the Union Academy neighborhood, which is a historically Black community located in Tarpon Springs. They did historical research, oral interviews, and an architectural survey. And really, this is just aiming to try and start to develop some sort of framework for preservation of these resources. As we were doing the study, we had a stakeholder group of former and current residents in the area, and we were able to identify a secondary area, Crosstown, which is actually in this area here, which was also historically important to the African American community in Tarpon Springs. So the oral history collection, where there were 15 interviews completed of past and current residents within the community. And the interviewees really shared kind of their individual histories and feelings about things. And one thing, a few themes kept popping up in all of these interviews. One was the importance of the Union Academy Family Center complex throughout time, historically and currently. It's important as a neighborhood institution. Also the importance of the local churches, as well as Ed Dorset Park and the Ed Dorset Barber Shop. Some common recurring themes were segregation, racism, kind of this Bahamian heritage came up a little bit. There's some Bahamian connection there, but not an ongoing cultural through line. But just some interesting things that came out about the community. This slide just is a summary of the finding. So they surveyed 58 architectural resources that had previously been surveyed, so those surveys have been updated. And then 257 new sites were surveyed, and of those 3 newly recorded resource groups. A large portion of those structures were contemporary, then World War II and aftermath, progressive, and then some of these really older structures that are still extant in the community. And the vast majority are single-family residences, then commercial buildings, and then apartment buildings. This map kind of shows everywhere that they surveyed. All those little dots on there are either survey updates or new surveys that were conducted. And this is just kind of the breakdown of the different styles that were seen. As with our town as a whole, frame and masonry vernacular were the predominant types, but as you can see, there's a little bit of everything in this survey area. So this is just a map that's showing you the surveys by type. It's illegible at this scale, but in the report you can see it a little better. This is just telling you a little bit about the Union Academy School campus. So it's a resource group that has 2 contributing buildings and 1 non-contributing building. And it was determined to be eligible for National Register of Historic Places listing under Criterion A, Education and Ethnic Heritage Black Areas of Significance. It has a period of significance from 1919 to 1969, and it really has been an important institution and focal institution within the community. And this photo here was taken in 1939. Here's the Union Academy Family Center complex today, or recently. This slide's telling you a little bit more about the Ed Dorset Barber Shop. Throughout the oral interviews, Ed Dorset and his work came out a lot. He really was a civil rights leader within our community. And it's kind of following a trend that we're seeing now in getting more information about our African American history. Barbers were not financially dependent upon other people, and then were able to maybe speak their mind a little bit more than other people who had to worry about keeping their paycheck. So we're seeing a lot more significance being placed on historic barbershops and getting that history recognized. So the barbershop was determined to have a period of significance from 1954 to 1972. And it's recommended eligible under the criteria A and B for commerce and ethnic heritage Black. And then finally, in terms of structures, the Mount Moriah Church, that's just down the street here on Pine Street. It's actually the oldest church, period, in Tarpon Springs proper. And it's recommended eligible under Criterion A, Ethnic Heritage Black, and Exploration Settlement. And it was a significant social institution that continues to this day, maybe not in this building, but the congregation still meets in the community. And so, yeah, it's the oldest standing church in the city proper. And then the consultants recommended that Ed Dorset Park be considered for local designation. Obviously, as it's been modernized with new equipment, it really hasn't maintained a lot of its physical integrity, but the importance of the place and the importance of that space to a community that was not allowed to gather anywhere else in the city is pretty significant. So we feel that that's eligible for some sort of local designation. Additionally, Ed Dorset's house, there's been some alterations over time, which has led to disintegration of some of its architectural integrity. But again, Mr. Dorset was such an important leader in this community, some sort of local designation would be appropriate for his home. And this is just kind of summing up the evaluation of a potential historic district. So only roughly 44% of the buildings within the large survey area would be considered as recommended as contributing, which really doesn't quite meet the threshold for a historic district. But we can continue to evaluate that, work with the community, see what they want to do. And like I said, we're not making any kind of hard recommendations for the establishment of a district or any kind of overlay at this time. But it would be good to have some sort of mechanism in place to protect those important structures and those historic structures and not let this piece of history be destroyed. So the consultant recommended that the city, again, consider local designation for the district. And as you know, it's really our local district that has kind of the teeth in terms of preserving the National Register district. While it's very prestigious and gets recognition and makes you eligible for federal tax credits and things like that, preventing demolitions and inappropriate alterations and things like that is really governed by the local designation. And then again, as additional structures reach historic age, we can reassess whether or not we think a National Register district might be appropriate. So this map's just showing you all of those little blocks in red are what's considered potentially contributing to a potential district. And then finally, the consultants recommended that we continue to look at different types of recognition for local designation and in National Register designation for those 3 structures. And just to continue to keep getting the word out and gathering more information, getting more oral histories and making that information available to the public. People are not really aware of the importance that the African American community had in the founding and the continuation and the contributions that they've made and continue to make within our community. So we want to make people more aware of that. As you know, the upkeep of historic buildings can be expensive, so the consultant recommended that we might look into, as we look into potential local designation and potential guidelines, that we also look into some programs to assist with the costs of the upkeep of historic buildings. Looking at the sustainability, the most sustainable building is one that's already there. If we can renovate historic structures so that they are more energy efficient, that's really a good goal. And tying back into Pat's previous element, continuing to look at disaster preparedness and the threats that the hurricanes and other acts can have on this historic area of our community. With that, I'll take any questions.
I have a question. So if we designate, right now you're talking about designating these buildings as historical.
I am not. The only thing that I am suggesting, which the Board of Commissioners is also in support of, is right now pursuing those National Register listings for those 3 structures, and then to continue to work with the community and see what sort of local designation would be appropriate for their community.
So my question is, at this point, could we get grants to help them?
At this point, I really feel, since there's no designation either local or nationally, not specifically for historic preservation.
Okay.
With respect to the Union Academy building, that is city-owned, so getting that on the register should be fairly easy. The other 2 are privately owned, so that might take a little bit more time. But this area is also included in our potential future community redevelopment area, and that might be a mechanism where we could provide some sort of funds for preservation and upkeep.
I'm just curious. I'd love to save some of those buildings for sure. They're so much part of the history.
I actually do have two questions. One is, when this area was actually part of the city, was it always part of the corporate boundaries of the city?
Yes.
Okay, and when we look at some of the historic plats, were these areas also included in those, like you always show like the Sanborn map and some of the original plats and neighborhood areas, were these also included in those historic plats?
Yes. And some of the structures can
Were
actually be
there?
seen on the
Okay.
older ones.
Nice, okay.
Just a question. Did you see the cultural art exhibit down by the Cap Center?
It's beautiful, yes.
Okay, yeah, I have tears in my eyes going through it, but
Yeah.
just more recognition, I think.
I think so too.
So what do you need from us?
Really, this is informational. Just wanted to let you know what's going on and kind of setting up for future. I would like to continue to work with the community and see what preservation looks like for their community.
Yeah.
So we might be coming back with some recommendations in the future, but right now, the only hard thing that we're pursuing is trying to get those National Register recognition for those 3 structures, and just to continue to think and work.
It's the beginning. Yes. Okay.
Now, just as a question, to become a historical society or portion, they've got a regular process to go through? I mean,
So we have a city process that we would go through if we were recommending local designation, and if that happens, we would be going through this board to the Board of Commissioners to do that.
okay. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
So, is that the end of the meeting then? Pardon?
Is there public comment?
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. Do you have a comment? Yes. Yeah. I lost my notes.
First of all, I want to congratulate Carolyn on initiating this whole project, which is long overdue to really recognize the African American community. And as the person that conducted the oral history interviews, I just have a couple other comments. One thing, thank you, Carolyn, for commenting about the Bahamian heritage issue. And I think maybe one of the reasons that question came up so much is that, all right, I'm an ethnographer, and this wasn't my first rodeo with this community. I did a small survey of this community 10 years ago when I was the curator of arts and historical resources for the city. I also worked with the Bahamian community in Miami, did some research in Key West, and also with Spongers in the Bahamas. So I know some things about Bahamian culture and architecture and things like that. So I was very curious personally as an ethnographer, because I knew about the history, to kind of track down the importance of that within the community. So I made sure to bring it up to every person. And through that came to the understanding, which I had kind of thought was the case, that there was some Bahamian ancestry, but really there was no significant Bahamian culture that has been handed down, and as Carolyn sort of recommended. And I'm wondering if it might be better, clearer to people if we call it Bahamian history instead of Bahamian heritage, just because it is, the culture itself is more in the past, although of course the ancestry is what brought some people here. But there were also Bahamians in the white community as well. Another thing I was wondering if somehow could be included in this project in the future. Through previous research I did to try to locate churches, the origins of African American churches here, going to the state archives, it looks to me like Mount Hermon was the first church in Tarpon Springs, period. Because there was another church that people cited as the first church, but it was actually built in Wall Springs, and it was the white church, But actually, I think Mount Hermon may have been the first church ever. Now, Mount Hermon at that location is gone, but I think it'd be really nice to recognize it, by having a marker or something like that in the future, to have that as part of the heritage. So,
What's that church?
Mount Hermon.
Herman?
Mount Hermon Missionary Baptist. Mount Hermon is still around. It's just moved. It's moved around. It was over in the Crosstown area initially on what's Pinellas and Athens today, and now it's over in the Union Academy district. Anyway, I'm looking forward to seeing a continuation and more of a historic district. Thank you.
Thank you. Good report. Thank you. Are there any staff comments before we close the meeting? I'm really excited about that. I'd like to work with you. I didn't say that on the microphone, but I would. So we can close the meeting at 7:15. I'll adjourn this meeting.